Dear Mom and Dad, I want you to know I wore the dress anyway. It was ivory, not white. You would have pointed that out, Mom, and I would have laughed. And we would have moved past it. I had imagined that moment probably 40 times in the 2 years Daniel and I were engaged. Small things like that. The kind of friction that only happens between people who know each other well enough to be careless. But you weren't there, so no one pointed out the dress. I'm not writing this to punish you with words. I'm writing it because I've been carrying something for a long time, and I think I finally understand what it is. Daniel and I got married on a Saturday in April. The venue was small. We'd chosen it deliberately, something intimate rather than impressive. 64 guests, wildflowers on the tables. His mother cried before the ceremony even started, which made me love her more than I already did. Your 2 chairs sat in the front row with small floral arrangements on them. I had told the coordinator not to remove them. I don't know why. Maybe I thought you'd be late. Maybe I just wasn't ready to make that visual decision. To have those chairs gone, in front of everyone. The ceremony happened anyway. That's what ceremonies do. When I called you afterward, I was still in the dress, standing in a hallway outside the reception room. Daniel was inside, talking to his cousins. I could hear music through the wall. You answered on the 3rd ring, Dad. I asked where you were. You said it was Rachel's birthday, that Mom had planned the party months ago. That they didn't want to disappoint her. Rachel just turned 31. I stood in that hallway for a moment after you said it. Not because I was searching for words, but because I suddenly didn't feel the need for any. Something settled in me. Not peace exactly, more like recognition, the kind that comes when you've suspected something for years and finally receive the confirmation you didn't know you needed. I said, okay. And I ended the call. You should know something about the last several years, though I don't think you've ever fully seen it. When Rachel couldn't cover her rent in 2019, I transferred the money. 3 months in a row. She didn't ask me directly. She mentioned it to Mom, and Mom mentioned it to me in that particular way she has. The way that isn't quite asking, but leaves no room for declining. I transferred the money. I didn't bring it up again. When Dad's car needed the transmission replaced, I paid the difference between what insurance covered and what the mechanic charged. When Mom's dental work exceeded what she'd budgeted, I handled it. When there was a gap, any gap, I was the one who quietly filled it, because I was the one who could, and because being the one who could meant being the one who was expected to. I'm not writing this as a ledger. I'm writing it because I want to be honest about what I had assumed those years of showing up had built. Assumed it meant something. I had assumed that when my single most important day arrived, the weight of all that quiet loyalty would be felt. Instead, there was a birthday party. And balloon arrangements. And apparently a cake. 2 weeks after the wedding, I called my accountant, Thomas. I stopped the automatic transfer I had set up for my parents' supplemental expenses. A monthly amount I had arranged quietly 2 years ago, when Dad's income dropped. I updated my emergency contact information. I removed myself from the shared phone plan I had been paying for since 2020. None of this felt like revenge. I want to be clear about that. It felt like accurately reflecting reality. You had shown me, in the clearest possible way, where I sat in the order of things. I was simply adjusting my behavior to match what was true, rather than what I had hoped was true. There was no dramatic moment, no announcement. I didn't call to explain. I just stopped. 6 weeks later, Dad called. There was a bill, a medical one. He mentioned the amount and then waited. I listened to all of it. I didn't interrupt. When he finished, I said, calmly, that I was no longer in a position to help with expenses in that way, and that I hoped they would be able to find a solution. I said it without coldness and without elaboration. He asked what I meant. I said I thought he understood, and I wished him well, and I ended the call. He has not called back. Mom sent a text 2 weeks later that said we need to talk. I replied that I was doing well and that I hoped she was too. That was the last exchange. I want to tell you what my life looks like now, though you aren't there to see it. Daniel makes coffee every morning before I'm fully awake and leaves it on my side of the counter. We have arguments about small things. Whose turn it is, what to watch, whether the window should be open, We have dinners with his family on the occasional Sunday, and his mother always hugs me for slightly too long, and I have stopped minding. It is not a perfect life, but it is a life that contains people who showed up. I still feel the absence of you in it. I want to be honest about that. It doesn't feel like victory. It feels like a door I kept open for too long and finally, quietly, closed. The dress, by the way, was beautiful. I wish you had seen it.